This video is to serve as a tutorial or a walkthrough to the SLAP application. We call it the SLAP application. It stands for Summary Logs Application. It's used in the automotive industry, and to break down the process or the functions of this application to a very bare bones, it just helps the management at automotive dealerships that sell cars, to see how their managers are doing their job, how well they're selling products when they sell a car. And by products, I mean when somebody buys a car at a dealership, they are sold things like insurance, gap policies, service contracts, and things of that nature. And these things are logged into our system and kept track. And on a monthly basis, basically, the dealership or the management at the dealership can log into our program, and they can see what kind of programs did each of the individual managers at the store sell, and be able to gauge their performance, look at percentages of each of the products that they're selling, and so forth. So that's really the crux of the program. It's a program that allows the dealership's management to view and manage the performance of the managers that are working and selling cars. Well, they're not necessarily selling cars, but they're selling products on a vehicle that has been sold to a customer. So, having said that, I think I'm just going to get into it, dive right into explaining the different parts of the program. The program has basically three user roles: a super administrator, which is us, an administrative login, and a user login. Now, I don't know if you remember, Yasser, but a while back when we were thinking about making this program more user-friendly, we were going to extensively create a super administrative level, an admin level, and we had actually gone to some degree of work before we decided to drop that program, and we never really went through finishing it. But essentially, the idea was that currently the super admin role, the admin role, is a viewing role. All it does is that it allows you to view the accounts under that specific dealer login or the admin login. The super admin basically can view everything, and the administrator can only view the accounts that are underneath an admin. And so you have many different kinds of admins, and each administrator basically represents a dealership or a group of dealerships. So, and then you have the user login, and that's the managers whose progress is being measured. So let's get into it. Let me quickly show you guys what the super admin login looks like. So I'm going to log in, and I do have the usernames and passwords all written out, which I'm going to send you separately. But I've got the super admin, which is Mike Dobson, and the password is 311MA. Okay, so now I'm logged into the application as a super administrator. And on the Super Administrator, the first page that you arrive to, you can see that there's three distinct columns: a My Agencies, a My Agent, and a My Dealership column. Now, for the most part, we don't really go too much into creating agencies and agent, but we do create the dealership. How have we been creating new accounts and new dealerships in this program is primarily by me going into the back end and into the database, creating new dealerships and new IDs, and creating ID relationships between products and the dealerships, and creating the users in the back end. So it's been a painful process right now, but so far it's worked, and it's not like we sell or have a lot of different users using this application and requesting changes very frequently. So it has not been an issue at this point. And we may discuss about how we might want to go back or revisit the original changes that we were working on. But for right now, I just want to focus on how this program is working, so we can just talk about the changes we want to make right now. So if you go, we can go start right at the dealerships, and under here we have all the different accounts. And what each of the dealerships represents is a separate account. And under that separate account, basically what that means is this is a separate business. Now, some of these businesses are owned by one company, and there is a simple way where you can have a login that can view all of the different businesses under that one login, and also view the reports combined for all of the selected dealerships or businesses. So we're going to go ahead and just select one of these businesses, Chris Myers Nissan. and I press select dealership, and what you see is it brings me to this page. From here on, this looks very similar to the login of an administrator. The super admin, the only difference really in the super admin is this ability to go back here and select any of the businesses or dealerships in this case that are listed. An administrator, when they log in, they can only see the specific dealership that they are the administrators for. Alright, so I go to Chris Myers Nissan, and this is the page that I arrive at. Now if I log out of this and log back in, because I know the username password for the administrators of one of these accounts, and I'm going to log in using that. Oops, that was the wrong password. It's Chris, C-H-R-I-S, and the password is 4 5s. Oh, this is the Automall one, but it's the same thing. He's good. He is an administrator for both Chris Myers Nissan and Chris Myers Automall. So the first thing that happens on this page is that you have the ability to select both the stores or businesses or any one of the stores. If I select one of the stores and say, submit selected, it shows me the managers that are working at that store. So in this case, I've got two managers, Ehtisham Qamar and Daniel Higgins. These are the people who are entering the different deals that we're going to go over. If I go back and I select both of them and press submit selected, it shows me the combined list of all the managers working at both the stores. So it doesn't matter, it could have been 5 stores, 15, 25, 100 stores. But basically that's what it does. It allows me to check the combined data of all the stores that are listed here on the main page. So just to keep things simple, I'm just going to select Chris Myers Automall right now. Wait a second. I'm going to select Chris Myers Nissan. And we'll proceed with that. Okay, so for the first thing that happens is now I have the option to select one of the managers or both the managers. And I want to just select Ehtisham Qamar and press select. What it does is it brings me to this page that shows me the performance report. We also call that a recap page and a detailed recap page. And essentially it has the same format no matter who you're watching it for. The only difference is that the numbers that are populated reflect that manager's numbers. But this report will always look the same regardless of who the person is that you're looking at. The format remains the same. Just like any other report page, obviously. And I'm not going to go into explaining too much about this just right now. We're going to go back. I just want to give you a general idea of what this program's different parts of the program look like and what the different pages are. And then you got the detailed recap, which breaks down these numbers even further. And it can break down for just Ehtisham Qamar, but it can also break it down for as many people as you've selected. I'm going to go back and we'll go to view data, and the view data allows me to view every single entry that this person has made. There's some options that I can select, and we'll go into explaining what these options mean later when I show how we add a new record as a user. But here I can go to show calendar and I can select last month, and I'm logged in as an administrator, if you recall. And basically I get all the different records that have been entered by this guy, Ehtisham Qamar. So he has entered these many deals last month, or that many cars that were sold, and the different products that he has sold. Did he sell Etch, prepaid maintenance, road hazard, bi-weekly, gap, life insurance, and so forth. One of the things is that these columns right now represent a product. Not all of them columns, but some of these columns from right here to about here are representing a product. But with the changes that we're going to make it where the products listing is dynamic and it's not a fixed number of products. So if we have a different set of products for a dealership or a business, then those would be the ones showing up over here rather than the same product. So that's something that wasn't designed initially, but we definitely need to have that flexibility. And these reports typically all have an export feature, so it exports to an Excel document. So that kind of covers the administrative portal, which is menu selection of the stores if there are multiple stores. You select them all, and then once you're in there, the next step is to select the managers. You can select one, multiple, or all, and select them and view the reports. So that pretty much covers that. The next part of the video is going to be about the actual user who logs in the deals. Alright, and so just keep in mind that right now I'm just going over the general features and functionalities of the program without really going into exactly what changes are we making. And the goal is just to first give you a fairly good and solid understanding of how the program works. And obviously that's going to give you a lot of different questions about things, and hopefully it'll minimize the confusions about the different things that are related at the back end and how they can get affected when any changes are made. So right now my whole purpose is to first give you a general understanding of the program. So we already covered the super administrative login area. We went over the admin login for individual businesses, and now we're actually going to log in as a user who logs into the program on a daily basis at the dealerships that are using this program, and they basically enter deals. And so we're going to log in as Ehtisham, password PWD, and once the user logs in, you'll see that their menu up here is a little bit more extensive than the administrators that can only really view the reports for the different managers. But as far as the managers are concerned, when they get in, or the users, the finance managers, when they log in, they have something called Add New, and that's where you're basically adding a new record to the program, to their account. You can go to View Mine, which allows the users to actually view all of their details. The View Mine option allows them to view all the records that they've added in the Add New. The Edit Mine is actually pretty self-explanatory. That allows the user to edit the records that they've added. They can modify it, so it's basically a CRUD. They can go in there and they can modify any of the fields that have been filled in, the information in those, and they can also delete a record. The View All essentially allows them to view everything, but if I'm not mistaken, it allows them to view last month. Yeah, with View All, they can view the performance of, not just performance, but they can view the records of all the different managers in their store. So that's the difference between just View Mine and View All. This should have been right next to this, but anyhow. And then the recap report is what we looked at earlier on the admin portal. It's exactly the same thing. Here the manager can come in and view all of the details of their records, and they can fill that by calendar, by date, and all that kind of stuff. Again, I'm not going to go and explain too much about how to read this report. This pretty much was a session to kind of give you an overview. So now we know that you've got the main menu, and that's just a welcome note for the user. The logo represents the dealership or the business that this manager belongs to. The Add New, we hadn't looked at this page earlier, but now that I've clicked on it, is where this user will now add a deal or a records. This is really the heart of the program, adding a deal. This is what this is all about. And once they've entered a deal, that deal can be viewed in the reports. He can view it in Mine. He can edit that deal, and he can view the deals that have been entered by other managers. But you cannot edit the deals of other managers. You can only edit your own deals. So that's what this is. Alright, so the next part of this presentation is essentially our video is going to be talking more about what are the changes that we are going to be making to this program. Actually, before I do that, I guess I need to go into more about adding the records, and exactly how that affects the reports and how to read the reports and the calculations going on in the back end. And then we'll talk about what is it that we are going to be modifying in this program.
So let's go to the add new page, and we'll figure out all the different fields here. So when a new field is added, we have primarily, well, kind of 3 columns here. It could have all been one, really. It doesn't really matter. But there's some things that are just simply information, and they really don't have any impact on the logic of reports and how reports are calculated. And then there are parts of this which are numbers which go into the calculations and the representation of the data on the recap page, the detailed recap page. But this part, the very first part, and this top portion where it says primary, new, used, and leased, these fields, and the date field, the customer name, first name, last name, stock number, finance source, sales manager, salesperson, the VSC provider, which stands for vehicle service contract, and the comments box are really just fields that really do not impact anything from a logical standpoint. They're just part of the record, and they're just data fields. These fields, however, the finance reserve, and then these fields that are the products, are numerical values that impact the reports. So what you enter here is shown in the detailed recap and the recap reports. Now, one of the things is that when this program was designed, we had these set products: extended service, edge policies, prepaid maintenance program, road hazard policies. These, when I talk about products being sold with a vehicle, this is what I'm talking about. You've got extended service, edge policies, prepaid maintenance, road hazard, other for something we haven't defined. This, I'm forgetting what this stands for, A&H policies, and gap policies, which is also a kind of insurance policy, and bi-weekly policies. These are all products that you are selling when somebody buys a car. Okay. The problem with the current system right now is these are hard-coded. So if I were to go to the recap page or look at the reports, you'll see that these are actually all showing right here. Finance deals, how many finance deals, service contract, edge policies, prepaid maintenance, all the things that we just looked at on this page are hard-coded on this part of the report, this middle portion. So you've got this top portion of the report right here, which is all vehicles sold, total qualified units, and I'm going to explain to you in a second what a qualified unit is and what does it mean by finance deals, because it's kind of the heart of how these calculations are taking place. This is pretty straightforward. It's just a date parameter, so this is just showing today's. But if I went to click on show calendar and clicked on last month, you'll actually see some information here. So this is saying that all secondary primary deals sold from 4/1 to 4/30, well, all vehicles, this is how many cars were sold. This is how many of the cars sold were considered qualified units, and this is an entry or selection made by the user when they're adding a new vehicle. If you notice, primary and secondary are also filters which are tied to these fields. The account type, is it primary, secondary, and the car status, whether it is new, used, and leased. These are the things that you can drill down by. So here it says primary, secondary, or both, view new, view used, and view leased, and view all. So by default, this report is always at all, and by default it is always on both. So you see all of that, but the customer or the user has the ability to select it, whether this is a primary deal, a secondary deal, or it is both of the deals. But these are the filters, the new, used, leased, all, primary, secondary, both. These are just filters, and you can only have one of these selected at any given time, obviously, and you can only select any of these. So we go back to add new, and these are those 5 options. So it's primary, secondary, or both, new, used, leased, or all. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 options, and 1, 2, 3 options on this side on account type. Okay, and this is only to make sure this is only behaving or acting as a filter for the data that you're looking at. And of course, you have the date parameter when the car was sold and when the other products on the cars were sold. So there's going to be one date, and then you fill up this record and you put in all the products that you sold, and that constitutes a deal, and you submit when you're ready. So I'm going to go ahead and just create a test deal. Test customer, last name test, stock number test. I just want to make sure this guy, the manager, does not get confused. Salesperson test, and I'll put comments in here. Test, and finance reserve. Okay, now here's where it gets a little interesting. But before I go into that, finance reserve in itself is not a product, but it is money made when a deal is financed. And when a deal is financed, what that means is that this customer is not paying cash. So, people can go into a dealership, and of course, if they can't pay up the entire amount in cash or write a check for a vehicle, they can always get financing through a bank, and most of the people do get financing through a bank. And that is basically financing the product. And if they get financing for the product, they're liable to probably sell more of these products because they're financed. Now, some products cannot be sold unless that the vehicle is purchased through financing. Let me repeat that. If you write a check or you have cash for buying a car, there are certain products that will not be sold to you. And those in this case are GAP policies and the CL and AH policies. Alright, to make it simple, I think I should just first enter values. So let's say I have extended finance reserve $200, extended service, I'm just punching in numbers, $200, edge policy $200, and basically these numbers are going to be different depending on what that product is. This price is road hazard policy 200. I just put 200 in everything. And other, I don't want to put other. And front gross if there's any money made on the front end of the deal. And then there's an option that says qualified unit or not. Now, this is just again another identifier which is different for different dealerships, but typically what a qualified unit is that if your car has 75,000 miles on it already at the time of sale, if it's less than 75,000 miles, it's a qualified unit. And what that means, it is much more liable to get financing. And if it gets financing, it's easier to sell all these other products. So this is just for notification for managers to see whether the deal that they have sold was a qualified unit or not. And the reason they want to know that is that if it was a qualified unit, they would want to see that this manager had sold these other products as well. If they didn't sell all these other products and it was a qualified unit, a manager can always be asked by the dealership's administration or management that, why didn't you sell these other products? You had the opportunity to because it was a finance deal. You could have asked for more financing and sold all of these. So that's what the qualified thing is for. So if he says not qualified or a non-qualified unit, it normally means that the customer has purchased a vehicle that was over 75,000 miles, or it could be because he had a cash deal. So he came in and he paid, he had already written the check and he gave you the exact sum of money and he didn't want any of these other products. So that's sort of a not qualified to sell these other products deal. So that's what this is. So it's a radio button. You can either be yes or no. So in this situation, we're going to say yes. And because we said yes, we're also going to be filling up these fields for these other products. Now, the change that we want made in the program, and I'll discuss that in a little later, is the ability for us to add more products. Essentially, any amount of products. And each of the businesses, as a super administrator, we will go in and select which of the products are going to be visible for a business. Right now, every business has the same set of products visible. But we're going to control what products can be seen. Now, no dealership is going to have like a lot of products. They're probably never going to have more than 10 to 15 products any given time. So in the last 7 years we've been using this program, we've not gone over the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fields. It's the same field. So, but they may have different kinds of products. They may not all have the same combination. So that's why we want to have the ability on the super admin login to be able to create a new type of product. And also, when we create that new kind of product, there will be a checkbox against each product that will say, is this a finance product? And I'll show you when we look at the reports again, what is the significance of that. So for right now, just what we've done is we filled all these fields up with test, test, test. We've got a dollar amount for all the different products that were sold, and we have selected this as a qualified product. And now we're going to go ahead and click primary, and we'll say this was a used car, and we will submit the deal. And that's all it is. It says your changes have been saved. Now I don't know why it says that, because really it's not a change. I just added a new program, a new deal, so it should really say your record has been submitted or your deal has been submitted or something like that. So that's something we may want to change. But in any case, moving on to the reports page. Now when we go to the reports page, it's going to show us, by default it always is set to month to date. So that means if today's May 4th, it's going to show me all the deals from May 1st till today. Of course, I can also click on today, which will show me today's car sold. So I had put another deal in there earlier for a test, and now I just added this one. So what it says is that I have 2 vehicles sold so far. And I said 2 qualified units, and that's because probably the other deal also had the qualified selected, option selected. It says how many finance deals, and it says 1. And it's probably because, oh, yeah, I got to tell you that part. When it says 1 under finance deal, it's going to say that if I put an amount under finance reserve. If I don't put anything under finance reserve, I will be prompted, and I'll show you what what the prompt is in a second. But let's go back to the recap page again and look at this. So right now, month to date, 2 deals, and it says service contract sold, 1 service contract sold, which I put the amount $200 for. Edge policy 200, so you can see it's all 200. That was the stuff that I was entering. Earlier I had put in another contract for a test, and for that I had put a gap policy for only $10, and another policy, the A&H policy, for $10. So that's why the total is 210. And so it says 2 of these sold, 2 of these sold, and 1 of this sold, and no other products sold. So this is pretty self-explanatory. The amount of those sold in the selected date period, and the income made from them. So this is the dollar amount. And then the next part is saying penetration, which is how many of the total products you sold was this product a representation of, or if you sold 1 service contract, what was the penetration of this product in your total sales? So your total sales were you sold 2 vehicles, and total qualified units were 2. If you sold 2 vehicles and you only sold 1 service contract, that's 50% penetration. If you sold 2 service contracts, and that on 2 vehicles that you sold, you would have 100% penetration. So that's what the 50% comes from. And this is 50% all the way down to road hazard. Of course, I didn't enter anything in the other field, so that's 0% penetration because we didn't sell anything. Okay, so on the bottom, as we can see, you've got the totals. So total products sold by this manager is, it just adds up this entire column, and that comes to 9. It says total product income. I would guess that this is the total, the sum of all the products income in the second column, and that's 1420. And it says total product penetration is 450%, which is just the total of all of this, all of the percentages here. Total front gross is whatever you put in the front gross. So I think I already put 256 in one of the deals that I entered, so that's 256.